Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is yet another tutorial. So we're going to make this beautiful dress. I saw this dress on Crochel's page. It was her birthday dress and I was inspired to make something similar because I had a client who wanted to have a gender reveal party. So for this tutorial we'll concentrate on the dress and I'll show you the measurements that we need to take. So we'll take the bust measurements, of which my client's bust measurements were 38 inches, and then measure the length just below your bust. Three, and then because my client is pregnant, her waist is a bit bigger, of which it is 35 inches, but yours will also work. It doesn't matter the inches, but I'll just lead you through on what you should do. Also, don't forget to take the hips measurements, and finally you'll take the full length too. Then I'll need you to take the length from the shoulder to the bust area, the shoulder to the just below the bust, then the shoulder to where the waist is, and the shoulder to where the hips is, because now we are going to concentrate on just below the bust. The 33 inches will be our foundation chain, so don't forget to take the length of the shoulder to the bust area, because that will determine the upper part of this dress. So to start, I'll need my yarn, and then I'm going to use I'm going to double my yarn because my yarn is a bit thin, but if you have a medium weight yarn, it's just okay. And before I go any further, I used 7 balls of such yarn, the medium weight yarn, 7 balls, around 7 to 7.5. Then I'm using a 2.5 millimeter hook and a measuring tape. So you'll also need stitch markers, whatever you can get. So for our foundation chain, I said you'll concentrate on the below the bust, so our length should be at least stretching to 33 inches, but you're going to adjust it a bit so that it can be able to pass through the bust. It won't be much of a bother if your bust is a bit small, but if you have a wider bust, you'll have to consider that, because if you have like bust 38 or more, then your chain has to stretch to about 36 inches, but still it has to be fitting just below your bust so that it can't be sagging from behind. So for now, I'm going to chain till I get to where I need where my bust measurements will reach. So after chaining, I'm just going into the second stitch from my hook and making a half double crochet. So for the foundation chain, I believe everything is a bit simple, but you have to consider that. Just keep that in mind, that you have to consider your bust size and just below your bust. If your bust size is too big, then you have to consider that your chain will pass through there. So you have to stretch it a bit, but don't stretch it too much because it has to be well fitting. So I'll continue with the half double crochets till I get to the end of the chain, and I'll meet you when you get there. After doing the half double crochet, this is how my works look like, and we are going to work on the upper part first, the bra cups that is, and I'm just going to show you on how we are going to work on these. So my chain had a total number of stitches of 160, and for my work, I'm just going to make sure that my dress has a nice coverage on the boob section, so it will extend a bit to the back or to the side, that is. So I'll consider that from the back side I have a number of 60 stitches, then the rest will go on the front side. So the total stitches that I'll use for my bust, my bra cover, will be 100, then the back side will be 60 stitches. So you can just consider your number of stitches, then divide them in a 3/4 way. So the quarter way go on the back side, then the rest you'll work on the front side. So right now I'm working on my front side, and I'm going to count up to 100 stitches, then and place my stitch marker at the 100th stitch. Your work doesn't have to be necessarily exactly as mine because you're using different measurements, or maybe we might be using different hooks or different type of yarn, so the stretching capacity is different. So this is the 50th stitch, then I'll continue and make, so that will mark the center of my work. Then I'll continue to count to 100. At the 100th stitch I'll also place the stitch marker. So what is left will be for the back side. So this is what is meant for my boobs area, where the stitch markers are. So to where my hook is from to where the stitch marker is, that is the back side, and then from where my hook is and to where the stitch marker is for the front side. So as you can see, it has an equal measurement, and we are going to immediately start with working out where the center of one boob will be, the quarter of it. So for that I'm just going to show you how I divided. So from the center of my front side, I'm going to count 20 stitches from on each side. That is the 50th stitch marker, where the stitch marker is at the 50th point. So count 20 to the other side and 20 stitches to the other side. So our graphic illustration is that way. So that's the 50th stitch. So I'm going to count up to 20th stitch from one side and 20th stitch to the other side. So that at the 20th stitch is where we'll be doing our increases, and that is where the center of the boob will be. So the remaining stitches are 30 and 30. So it means that on the side the length will be longer. So I'm going to work the next 3 inches, reducing this side and then increasing at the center, reducing at the sides and increasing at the center. So immediately we start with a decrease on the side. So I make 2 half double crochet together, and then continue with half double crochet till I get to where my stitch marker is. Hoping that I was clear on how we part the boob sector. So I'm working the first 30 stitches, of which I've reduced at the edge, and then just continue with half double crochet till you get to the center. When you get to where your stitch marker is, you're simply going to remove that stitch marker and place 3 half double crochet into that stitch. That is 1, 2 and 3. Then take your stitch marker and put it in the middle chain, the middle stitch, sorry, the middle half double crochet. Place your stitch marker right there on the second half double crochet into that stitch. Then continue with half double crochet till you get to the other side. The center stitch marker won't affect anything. It was just to make us know where the center is. So all through I'm just going to work half double crochet till I get to the point where my bra cup is. This middle marker has no much use, so I'll just remove it and continue with the half double crochet. So what we did on this side is what you're going to do on the other bra cup. Make an increase at the center and a reduction at the end. So this point is where I'm going to make the increase. Meet you when you get there. So when I get to where the stitch marker is, I'm going to do an increase by making 3 half double crochet into that stitch. This is that 20th stitch from the center. I hope you're following. It will be a bit tricky, but you'll just have to follow because this dress has the workload is on the upper side, but after this everything will be just easy. So continue with the half double crochet till you get to the end of the boob section. So that is where my 100th stitch is, and I'm just going to, when I have 2 stitches left, I'm going to make a decrease. So yarn over, go into the first stitch, remove your stitch marker, the stitch that marks the last stitch. I'll just do that again. Yarn over into the first stitch, then into the second stitch, yarn over and pull through all. So that is how I make my decreases. Then chain up 2, go into that first stitch and make a decrease again, and into the second. Then continue with half double crochet to where your stitch marker is. So we'll be doing the decreases on the sides. Each and every row will have a decrease at the edge. When you get to that point where you placed your stitch marker, you'll just do the same thing. We're going to make an increase. Then do 3 double crochet into that stitch and replace your stitch marker to the second stitch on that increase, the middle one. Then continue with half double crochet till you get to where the other stitch marker is. Then make the increase on the stitch marker on that stitch. By doing 3 half double crochet into that stitch. I think I'll have to replace my stitch markers because I don't like it. I'll just use yarn. That's why I love using yarn. They're easily replaceable and you can still work with it on the stitch. So just replace it and put it on the second stitch of your increase. Then continue with half double crochet till you have 2 stitches left to the end. So when I have 2 stitches left, I'll just do the 2 double crochet, half double crochet together for my decrease. Then chain up 2, then turn my work. Do another decrease. So you start with a decrease and end your work with a decrease. Then continue with half double crochet till you get to where the stitch marker is and do an increase. So I'll do this, I'll repeat this for the next 3 inches till I get to 3 inches of length. So this is how my work looks like right now. This is where the front area is, and that is where my boobs will be. So I'm going to work upwards and see you when you get to where I am. So I went ahead and did 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 rows. And that is about 3 inches. So considering you have to work for 9 inches, because from the shoulder to just below my boobs is about 13 inches, then I'll leave 4 inches for the strap. So I'll continue working my bust area. So at this point I'm going to do something a bit different, but still we are continuing with decreasing at the edges. Just to illustrate further on what I meant, so this is a cup, then this is the strap, then from the shoulder to the bust, below the bust is about 13 inches. So I'm going to assume 5 inches I'll leave it for the strap, then the 8 inches is what you're working on. So right now I'm not going to make a increase on the section on the center, but I'll just go into it with a half double crochet, then continue with half double crochets. That is the same thing you'll do on this center, and just do a decrease on the edges. So continue with that for the next few rows till you get to about 4 inches. I'm sorry it wasn't showing, but I did like 4 rows of no increase at the center, but decrease at the edges. So this is how my work looks like. Don't forget to replace your stitch marker to know where the center of your work is. So this, as you can see, it already looks like a bra because it has cups. So you're just going to count the number of stitches you have from one end till the other. Mine are 106, so the center of it will be 53. So on the 53 stitch I'll place the stitch marker because I want to split my work. It's time to split the bust. Then from the center you can just confirm whether you have 50. For me, I'm supposed to count up to 26 stitches because 53 divided by 2 you get about 26 stitches. So I'll continue, having known where the center of my cup will be and where I'll split my work. So I just chained 2, and just to confirm the number of rows, as per now I have a total of 13 rows and I'm on my 14th row. So I'll continue with decreasing at the edges. Then simply continue with half double crochet till you get to the middle. This time round we'll be doing something different. Remember, this is where we'll be separating our bust, so we'll have to continue. When you get to the center, you're going to make a reduction into the stitch where you placed your marker, and into the next just make a 2 half double crochet together. Then continue with half double crochet till you have 2 stitches left to the end. When you get to the middle part or the end of the first cup, you're just going to do a reduction. So after reducing, just chain up 2, then turn your work, because we are doing the first cup first. We'll work upwards, then make 2 half double crochet after turning your work, then continue with half double crochet, when you get to the center just make half double crochets with no reduction, then continue with a half double crochet till you get to till you have 2 stitches left to the end. Then make 2 half double crochet together, then chain up 2, turn your work, start with 2 half double crochet together, then I'll show you what to do next. Continue with half double crochet. For this row we are going to reduce, so when you get to the center you're going to make another reduction, then continue with half double crochet till you get to till you have 2 stitches to the end, then make a reduction on the end too. Then chain up 2. If you feel like you find it hard to trace where you normally end your work, you can just place a stitch marker after doing a reduction. Just like that, because I also found it a bit hard to trace where my last stitch is, but with time you get to know where exactly it is. So you can just be placing your stitch marker there and then continue with half double crochet. Before I continue, I just want to know how far I had gone, whether to be concerned about the rate at which I'm reducing my work. So right now I have like 5 inches, so to mean I'm left with about 3 inches and I have to start reducing fast. So I'll increase the number of times that I reduce on each row. Like right now I'm going to reduce, so I've gotten to the middle and I'm going to make a reduction right there, then continue with half double crochet. So I'll just make a summary of how I reduced my rows as from the split, because you might find it a bit tricky to understand. Oh yes, I know it will be a bit tricky to understand how I came up with my method of reducing, but it, just know that it will vary from bust size to another bust size. If you're of a smaller bust size, then I'll advise you reduce 3 times on each row till you're done, till you have a corn at the end. And if you're of a middle bust size, then you'll reduce for the first 5 rows on 3 times on each row, then finish off with the same way I'll reduce. Then if you're of a large size, then you have no problem, you can just follow through with what I was doing. But for this exact measurements, I reduced on my first row, that is the 14th row, 3 times. Then on the next I did not reduce. So a summary of what I just did is on the captions. I hope you'll be able to understand, and I hope you'll be able to adjust according to how your bust sizes are. So right now I've already done 5 rows. First row I reduced, second row I did not, third row I did 3 times, that is, and then for the last row I also reduced 3 times. So 3 times, that is at the edges and at the center. So right now I'm going to increase the number of times I'm going to reduce. I'm going to reduce 4 times. So for the 19th row I'm going to reduce 4 times, and I'm going to show you where I'll reduce, just right there, and at the edges. So we'll start off with a reduction at the edge, then continue a bit with half double crochet, then my 8th and 9th stitches I reduced, made 2 half double crochet together, then continues with half double crochet till I'm past the middle. Then do another half double crochet together, and finish off with the same way you have been. Just do normal double crochet, then when you have 2 stitches left, finish your row with 2 half double crochet together. You can see how it's carving out nicely. So for the next 4 rows we are going to do the same, just reduce at the edges. That is the only point at which the reduction will be constant, but for the 2 middle reductions we'll be interchanging the position, so it's not so obvious where we had reduced. So right now I'm working on my 20th row, and I'm just going to reduce. This is the point where I made my previous reduction on row 19, and I'm just keeping a few more stitches, then making my reduction so that it can't be that obvious. So I'll continue to do this for the next row till I get to row 23, just interchanging where I'm placing my reduction, the two reductions that I make in the middle, but ensuring that I reduce at the edges. So meet you when you get on the 23rd row. So I'm done with my 23rd row, and I'm going to my 24th row. So I'm just going for the next rows, that is from row 24 to 31. I'm going to reduce at the edges only. So for the next rows, just chain 2 at the end, turn your work, make 2 half double crochet when you're starting, crochet when you're ending the row. For the rest, just do simple half double crochet, and I'll meet you when you're done with this side of the cup. So right now I'm on my 30th row, and I have 4 stitches, so I'm going to do 2 half double crochet together, then 2 half double crochet together, and just chain up 2 and make 1 2 half double crochet together for the last row, and that will be just about it. Then as from here, I will just do my cup is done, and what I just want to do is to make the strap. So I'll continue with the strap. If you wish, you'll just continue the strap, or you'll just cut your yarn, then make your strap later. So this is how my cup will look like when I'm done one side, and you can see it has enough space to carry the bust. And hats off, crochel normally does amazing work, and I can tell you I had to look at that piece of work for like almost 3 days until I had internalized it before I started to do my project. And I believe it's worth it. The price, it's worth it. You guys should just give her all your money, because this is not mere brains. You just have to be creative enough, and you have to be like, you have to give your all so that you can create such a piece of work. And I do believe that she deserves all the credit, and I was just glad that I was able to come through. I was able to pull through the tutorial, and pleased that I can share it with you. So please, if you see this tutorial and you do appreciate it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, don't forget to share. So right now I'm just going to repeat whatever I've done on the other side, and if your reductions are different from mine, please make sure that you take a note of how you are reducing. So if at all you had reduced differently from my own, please do take note of how you're reducing, and simply just copy paste what you had done on the previous bust, do it on this side, just that you'll have to start from the middle going outwards, while the other one we were starting from the edge. I just want it to be a continuation, that is why I'm starting at the middle, so that the variations on the rows are the same from one bust to the other side. So I'll meet you when you're done with the busts, then we can start off with the rest of the dress. And the hardest part of this dress is actually over when you're done with the busts. The other side is just a walk through. So I'll just continue with the busts and meet you when you're done. So I'm done with the bust. You can see how nice and beautiful it looks. It looks like a bra. Oh my god, I'm just so amazed by this beautiful piece. And if you have managed to pull through this, then you are also amazing. So for the straps, what you'll do after you've done your last row, the 31st row, you'll simply go into it, chain one, then go into that chain, pull through your yarn over and pull through your yarn and make a single crochet, then go into that single crochet that you made into it, pull through your yarn, make another single crochet. So it will just be a repetition of single crochets, front post single crochet. I don't know how to call it, but that is how I normally do my strap. So I'll continue with the straps till I have enough length. It doesn't have to be too lengthy, because it will just have to go over the shoulders and tie it behind your neck. So just do the same for both sides, then I'll show you how to do the rest of the dress. So right now I'm finalizing the straps, and what I'm just going to do with the final part of the strap is finish off, then simply make a chain. Then cut off my yarn. So we are done with the upper part of the dress, and going on the rest of the dress, we are now working downwards. So as you can see, our foundation chain was there just below the bust, was determined by below the bust and the bust area, because you're just going to make a slip knot and attach your yarn on the bust area, just the corner at the edge, and bring over the back side and connect the two with a slip stitch. After connecting it with the slip stitch, the remaining bit I'll just sew in with a darning needle. but right now I'm just going to work on the lower part of the dress. So I'm just going to chain 2 and make half double crochets as I continue. So I'll ensure to secure my leftover yarn as I work through, and I'll just make half double crochet all round till I get to the end. So meet you when you get there. So when you get to the end, just ensure you go through each and every stitch till you don't have any spaces left. Then we are not going to have any seam, or like where we are connecting where we have a specific end to a round, because I'm going to do a half double crochet into the first half double crochet that I made as I began the row, and that will mark the start of my next round. And it's important to use a stitch marker whenever you do this. By doing this, I'm going to ensure that I'm not having any connecting points, so that ugly look that is normally formed when you're connecting your dresses will not be there in this dress. So just find a stitch marker and put right where you had begun your work. So having that my client is pregnant, so I'm going to consider that as I am moving downwards, but for the next few rounds I'm just going to make half double crochet on each and every stitch. As you have seen, the dress can stretch to 36 inches. The waist of my client is 35 inches, just below the bust is 33 inches, and the length to the waist is about 18 inches. So I'm going to continue with the same number of stitches, no increases, just half double crochets. Ensure you put the stitch marker, don't forget about it. Just half double crochets till you get to 18 inches. So see you when you get there. So I did a couple of rows. I wasn't counting the exact number of rows because they're going to be too many, so I'm going to use a tape measure instead. So up until there I have already achieved 18 inches, no increases. But for you who has a smaller waist than just below the bust, you'll have to do reductions. You'll have to reduce a bit. Maybe you can count 3 rows of which you reduce. You can choose to reduce on one row, then not reduce on the next till you get to your waist area. If your waist area is a bit slimmer than your just under your bust, but otherwise you can just continue with the same, because remember our dress does not have the exact measurement. It's stretchy, it's stretching so as to flatter the waist and the hips. So right now my waist size is about 15.5 while not stretched, and it can stretch to 19 inches. So 19 times 2 can even achieve 19 times 2 can achieve 38 inches at most. So I'm safe, it will fit my client, and that is why I'm telling you, you have to reduce it a bit if you have a smaller waist. So that is the point where I start my row. And always make sure that you replace your stitch marker once you go into a new row. That is the only way you know that you're starting a new row, because you're not making any chains or any slip stitch. So assuming we were working for a petite person, maybe whose bust and under the bust is about 30 inches and then the waist is about 27 inches, then you'll have to reduce, because the variation will be visible. So you can choose a couple of rows that you might want to reduce. Maybe you can count 2 rows, then reduce in the next, reduce mostly on the sides, like you can reduce on that, then work 2, reduce on the third, just like that. It won't be noticeable, but you will see it while you're done. You'll notice that the waist is smaller compared to the bust. So if you want to reduce, you can just do this on this side, that is, make 2 half double crochet together, just like that, and then continue with half double crochets. But because as for me, my client is pregnant, so I'm not going to do the reduction. It won't favor my client but for you who has a smaller waist, you can do the same. Just choose a couple of rows that you might want to reduce, maybe skip 3 and do the reduction on the third till you reach your waist measurement, like till you reach the length where your waist is supposed to be. Let's say, as for me, my waist is at around 18 inches, so till you reach there, you'll have to make the reductions. So moving forward, I'll just continue with the half double crochets. That was just an illustration of what you might do if you have a smaller waist to work with. Having reached 18 inches, we're going to start increasing our work. And let me just show you something that you should take note of. Right now we are at this point, of which my clearance is 35 inches, and that is about 18 inches from the shoulder. Then we are going a bit lower to the low waist area. She's about 38 inches, so it means it's increasing, and at that point is about 22 inches. These are measurements that you're supposed to take while you are taking the measurements of the client. Then we are also having 48 inches at the hips. That is where our dress is widest, the 48 inches, of which at this point is 28 inches from the shoulder. So please consider taking each and every length from the shoulder. So right now we have about 12 inches to work with, where we are going to increase. As from where we are at right now, we are at 18 inches. So I'm going to work on the next 10 inches, increasing my rows. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the row that I am on right now, then skip 2 rows make 2 rows without any increases. Then the third, I'm going to make the same increases. So I'm going to do the same till I get to 28 inches. My increases are mostly going to be on the sides. So right now our hips measurement when unstretched is 30, and when stretched is about 36 inches. So remember, you're making a bodycon, and according to how your hips are wider compared to your waist, you're going to make the increases. So right now I'm just going to continue with half double crochet, then determine where my hips lie exactly, place a marker, and increase my work. As for me, I'm going to make 2 double crochets onto the next stitch, and then continue with half double crochet till I get to the other side of the hips. Do not forget to replace your marker, because this will help you determine where you're starting a new row and when you're ending a previous row, and also you'll get to know when exactly to finish off your work. So I'll just continue with half double crochet, and I'm going to place stitch markers at the hips, so I can be able to determine where exactly I'm supposed to do my increases. And it's also as a reminder that I'm supposed to do my increases at that point. So assuming you have hips 28 and not hips 28, waist 28 and hips 42, then for you your increases will be a bit slower, because as you can remember, my client is pregnant, so her waist and hips are a bit wide, and for you who is doing for a smaller size, I want to tell you that you can make the increases a bit slower. Maybe do an increase on assuming the first row, then skip like 4 rows, then do another increase until you get to where you want your hip measurements to be. So you'll just know how to to play with your increases and then split them, so that when you get to where your lower waist is, you have a wider section compared to where your waist is. So for now I'm going to make an increase because I've reached the other side. So that is how I'm going to do my increases for the next few rows, while increasing on one row, then skipping 2 rows, then making an increase. I went ahead and went round, and now I'm back to where I started at, and I'm going to skip this row. I'm not going to make any increases, just going to do half double crochets for the round. So that is going to be our pattern, and I'll meet you when you get to the point where I have reached 10 inches. That is just below, just on the waist, the lower waist section. That is the 10 inches will be at my lower waist section, and I'll meet you when you get there. So this is what we have by the time I get on my 32nd row, and I've done a number of rows. I'll just take my tape measure and measure where I am right now. I'm at about 9.5 inches, of which 9.5 plus 13 is roughly 22. So that means I am already at my waist, the lower waist. So I'm going to continue till I get to 28. That is where my hips are. So we are going to increase, and I'm going to increase on the number of half double crochet increase I make on a row, because right now I'm at about 39 inches when stretched, and you can see that's 36, that's 30, 32. Then when stretched is about 39 inches, so, or 38. So I'm going to make the increases. I'm going to show you where to make the increases. This is where my hips is at. So we just continue making the increases at the hips, but have additional increases. So I'm going to place stitch markers on where I'm going to make the increases at the back and at the front, so as to accumulate our hips. So you'll get a stitch marker, the favorable one you might want, but let it be of a different color from the dress, and place 2 stitches at the back. Then turn your work and place another stitch at the front. Just one is enough. We're placing at the back because of the ass, and just one for the front to increase the hips. So after placing your stitch marker, then you'll know where to make increases whenever you come to the stitch markers. So I'm just going to show you on how I made my increases as we go ahead, so as we can finally be done with this dress. So I'm supposed to be increasing at this point where we have the stitch marker, and I'll just use the same way that I'll just increase it the same way that I've been increasing. I'll go ahead, make half double crochets on on the stitches as I work towards it. Then when I get to where the stitch marker is approximately, I'll make 2 half double crochets into 1 stitch, just like that. Then continue with half double crochet till you get to the next stitch with no increases. So I've reached the next stitch marker and I'm going to make my increase. Then continue with half double crochet. Please ignore my son. I had to come work on the bed because the table was too small and now he finds this as a place to play, really. Anyway, so I'll continue till I get to where the hip is. Then I'll show you how I make my increase at the hips. So first off, I'm going to replace the stitch marker and bring it a bit closer. Then for the hips area, we're going to do the increase a bit different. We're going to do a double increase at the hips. So 2 half double crochet into the first stitch. Then right where your stitch marker is, make 1 half double crochet, then 2 half double crochet into the next. So I hope you understood. 2 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, then 2 half double crochet for the hips. Then continue for the front section and the back section. We're just doing 2 half double crochet into the stitch where we are making increases. But because so another thing, if your hips are wide, then you're going to make the increases as just what I did. But if your hips are kind of small, then no need to have the back and the front increases. You can just do the side increases, because this is a bodycon dress. You can leave out the 3 increases, the back ones and the front ones. But for the wider hips, like let's say hips 48 going onwards, then you'll have to make the increases at the hips and the back and the front. So I'm going to do this for a couple of rows. So for the next increases, 10 rows, let's assume this is row 1, the one that you're working on. Then I'll make an increase in this row 1, then row 2 I won't increase, row 3 I increase, row 4 I won't increase. So that way till I get to the 10th row from where I am right now. So meet you when you get there. This is merely an update on the dress. We have already done 10 rows and one increasing, the next not increasing. And I've already accumulated a number of rows that can enable us to see that the dress is expanding while as we are getting to the hips. And right now we are at the 25th inch, so I'm just going to continue till I get to 28 inches. So for the next couple of rows, I don't know how many, I'm going to do no increases, just double crochet, half double crochets till I get to where I need. So without stretching, my dress is at 19 inches. I went ahead, did a number of rows till I get to 29 inches. The rounds had no increases, no reductions, just half double crochet all round. So when I take a measurement from the top of my dress, remember just below my dress is about 13 inches, so from there to where I am right now, I'm already at 29 inches. So right now we are going to do decreases. As you can see, the hips area have already formed, and I'm just going to replace my stitch markers to where I want them and start doing reductions for the next couple of rows. So just follow through with the video. I hope you'll get to understand. The same way I'm just doing is the same way you are supposed to also do for the smaller size. That is why I chose to work with inches instead of number of rows, because I might achieve a certain inch with a certain number of rows, yet you haven't achieved the same for yourself. So I wanted you to understand that it's easier to work with inches so that you can know from my shoulder to my hips I'm supposed to have achieved a certain number of wideness. So I'll just go ahead, replace my stitches, and then I'll show you how to do how I did my decreases. So at this point I'm supposed to make a reduction. So whatever I'm going to do, yarn over, go into the front loop, then into the next front loop, yarn over and pull through your yarn, then yarn over and pull through, then go into the next and make half double crochets. If that isn't that clear, I'll just show you again how I did my decrease. Making the decrease, yarn over, go into the first front loop, then into the next front loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over and pull through the remaining 3, then continue with your half double crochets. So that is how I do my decreases. So right now we are at 29 inches, and I'm going to do the reduction for a couple of rows till I get to the 31st stitch. So right now I've reduced, so the next I won't be reducing. I'll just be interchanging the rounds like that till I get to the 31st inch. When I reduce on this row, then it means the next I won't be reducing the next, don't reduce in the next. So I'll just go round, and then I'll be making my decreases at the hips, one at the front and one at the back. So the reductions will be 4 times. Let the hips ones remain at the same point, like at the hips, but the ones at the back and the front, you can the same place. So this is how my work looks like after I'm done with the reduction. Right now I'm at my 31st inch. You can see how nicely the hips have formed, that is the point where I started reducing, and I did a number of rows, like 8 rows. So out of the 8 rows, 4 of them have been reduced and 4 were not reduced. So right now I'm at 31 and I want to get to my full length, which is 38 inches. So for the next number of rows, I'm just going to do half double crochet, no increases, no reduction, mere half double crochet till I get to 38 inches. So at this point, you're free to decide where you want your dress to reach. You'll just continue till you get to where you want your full length to be. You can continue till around 35 is just enough, but my client wanted hers a bit longer, so I'll just work till I get to 38 inches. See you when I'm done. So this is just to show you how you're supposed to finish your work, and right now I'm approaching the end. I'm just going to do the few last half double crochet. Well, it's been a whole 3 weeks shooting this tutorial, and I'm sure you've noticed there is a variation in lighting, but thanks to God that this tutorial is done, and I'm so pleased that I'm finalizing the last bit. So please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a huge thumbs up, share with your friends, and if you know any person who has been looking for such a tutorial, please share with them. I'll be really grateful. Remember, please do subscribe, and thank you so much for watching till the end. So when I have 1 2 3 4 stitches left, I'm going to start to do single crochets. I'll just do a half double crochet into one, then do single crochet into the next, then a slip stitch into the last stitch, and finish off my work by securing my yarn. I'm just going to do slip stitches into the next and then cut off my yarn, and we are done. So you can see the dress is finally done. You'll just secure this with a darning needle, then you can remove the whatever is left, the stitch markers, and just clean up nicely. You can use also a crochet to just hide your leftover yarn, but a darning needle is best. And that's it for our tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and please kindly do subscribe. My next video will be on the cover, so don't forget to subscribe. Bye. Thank you so much for watching.